What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Locations Unknown. I'm your co-host, Joe Erato, and with me, as always, is a guy who is the reason we pronounce the G in longevity twice and two different ways, Mike Van de Bogert.
Oh, thank you, Joe. I have no clue what that joke even means, but I assume it's funny.
There's only one G in the word longevity.
Yeah.
But we pronounce it twice.
Yeah, okay.
In two different ways. It's not really meant to be funny. It's more, it's like a mind boggle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Don't like criticize me.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe, for that amazing intro. So just a couple of announcements this week.
So hurt.
Before we get going. We actually don't have any new Patreon shout-outs, so that is a little sad.
Oh man, I'm hurt twice now.
I know, so
just keep raining it on.
If you love the show and you want to help us out, head on over to Patreon. There's a bunch of additional episodes you can listen to. You can also support us on all the various Apple subscriptions, YouTube memberships, Spreaker subscriptions, all that stuff. So you get additional episodes. Other perks from time to time. You get a free bumper sticker when you sign up, or a cup, or a coffee mug, or hat, which we've run out of hats. So
yeah, I reached out to a couple suppliers on that. So
we're gonna open up.
Make sure they're good quality.
I've been looking into opening up a new storefront with a different company that can make a lot more products. So stay tuned on that front.
Okay.
If you want to call the show or text the show, you can. Call or text 208-391-6913.
We're actually going to be sandbagging them all till April 23rd. Mike, tell them what's happening on April 23rd.
So, a little bit of bittersweet news. Podcast isn't going away, but we were informed the building we're in is converting completely to apartments. So
we're
getting
moving.
So we have to move out by the end of April.
Yeah, they're relocating us to another building. But
so
we'll see how that goes. But we're going to have a send-off party.
We're going to have a send-off live stream. It could go as long as we want. We're thinking it's going to go at least 3 hours. We're hoping 4 or 5 hours.
I think it's going to go at least 4.
Yeah, so it's on April. So mark your calendars. April 23rd. It'll be in the evening, probably. We don't know the exact time when it starts, but yeah, 5 or 6, it'll start Central Time. And we're going to do all kinds of...
We've entered the variety show hour phase of our podcasting career.
Yeah, so we're going to have Andy in studio too. He, if you remember, Andy has been with us for all the Gwen Hasselquist cases. So
he's the OG.
He's one of the OGs, so he will be here.
Brought the case to us. Yeah,
he'll be here for the entirety of the live stream. We're also going to do... we'll do a live call with all of our Patreon followers. So if you're a supporter, you can actually join the call. If you're not a supporter, we'll live stream it. You can watch it. We're going to post a Reddit thread where you can ask any question you want, and we'll answer them on the stream. We're also going to open up the phone number to live calls during the stream. So anyone
you heard
listening,
that right.
Yes, we tested
live
it out.
Calls. Like
it works.
What you say will come through in the stream.
Yeah, so
and we don't know how to do delay.
No, there's no delay.
There's no delay.
So hopefully, well, we'll see what happens.
From your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah. So we're going to we're gonna have the phone number opened up for the whole live stream. We are going to have we're gonna get all of our hosts from the different shows on our network at one point on the live stream. We're hoping to get Evan back for the live stream as well.
Yeah, so if you're listening to this, Evan,
yes,
mark your calendar.
And we're hoping we can get his pal to join too.
Yeah, we got a couple special people we're going to try and bring. Yeah, so we'll have a lot of interesting, different content.
His friend is a very well-known television host for a show he worked on for a while.
Yep. So we're going to try it all.
We're going to try it all.
And if it all falls through, you're just going to hang out with me and Mike. We're going to watch funny YouTube videos or something.
We're going to stream for like 5 hours. So it's kind of a send-off show to the studio because Joe and I we're excited for the new space, but we're also sad to leave the zoo, as I like to call it.
Yes.
Because we're like wild animals, like trapped in this glass box, and people do crazy stuff out the window. So
yes.
We're a little sad to see it go, but we've got a few more months here, and we're going to go out with a bang. And
absolutely,
we may do other interesting, surprising things too on the live stream that we haven't thought of yet.
Yeah,
so,
we have a lot of months to figure it out.
Yeah, so stay tuned. We'll post on all the socials more details on this very soon. But April 23rd is the date we're going to be doing this. So
mark your calendar.
Mark your calendars. Other than that, you can check out all of our other shows in the network: Peanut Butter and Mountain Podcast, Off the Trails, The Weirdos We Know, Who Runs This Park, and now Crime Off the Grid. We're
growing.
Officially on the network, and we've got many more that are close, so stay tuned. Other than that, one final thing. We are off the next 2 weeks, so Joe is unfortunately traveling. He's too good to hang out with us the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
That doesn't mean
work conferences.
Doesn't mean we're not going to have content. So one of the weeks we're going to release one of our Patreon episodes for free. We do that from time to time. So probably be a voicemail episode. And one of the other episodes, Michelle, who has guest hosted a few times on the podcast, she's going to do a final episode with her and her husband. So she really wants to start doing her own show, and we've been guest hosting with her as she gets, used to doing it. And after this episode, she will be moving over to her own show on our network. So
yeah, it'll still be a continuation of the Gone in Alaska series, but she's hosting it now with her husband, Joe.
Yeah.
So not to be confused with me, Joe.
Yeah.
They even opened up how in their household she used to refer to me as Podcast Joe, but now if she's doing that, she can't anymore.
Yeah.
So yes.
Don't be alarmed if you don't hear us one week.
Yes. We're not replacing either of us. I know some people were nervous about that when we did a couple of those initial cases, but it is just additional content that you would not have otherwise had.
Yeah, and we'll be back after this 2-week hiatus, and we're going to end our studio time strong. So
absolutely.
Other than that,
all right, everybody, let's gear up and get out to explore locations unknown. May 29th, 1925. Deep in the uncharted reaches of the Brazilian rainforest lies one of exploration's most enduring riddles. A daring British explorer ventured with 2 companions in search of a lost city that might reshape history. On the threshold of the unknown, all 3 vanished. Theories swirl: hostile tribes, disease, or even a hidden new life among the forest's people. Join us this week as we investigate the puzzling disappearance of Percy Fawcett. So we are headed via airplane, then steamboat, to the Amazon rainforest in central Brazil. The sublocation is the Brazilian state of Mato Grosso, near the upper Xingu River. This is in Brazil, as we said. Visitors per year, unknown.
It's a big rainforest. Yes.
Yeah, I was in the Peruvian Amazon on the river.
That's south.
Yeah, in Iquitos. We started in Iquitos and then went up the river. And so I was reading through the notes and saw some stuff that just brought up some happy memories.
Yeah, Joe has been here, so that's kind of cool. We've got some boots on the ground experience in the rainforest.
So long before European contact, indigenous peoples developed complex societies throughout the Xingu Basin. Archaeological findings reveal evidence of organized settlements, extensive road networks, and advanced agricultural practices, challenging earlier assumptions that the rainforest could not sustain large populations. From roughly the 16th century onward, Portuguese explorers and fortune seekers began incursions into the interior, seeking natural resources and routes for trade. Yet for centuries, these efforts barely touched the more remote upper Xingu, where Kalapalo and Kikuro Kamayura and other groups maintained relative isolation. With the rubber boom, which is in the late 19th to 20th centuries, outsiders increasingly penetrated the region, leading to conflicts, disease, and displacement of the indigenous communities. During the 20th century, frontier expansion accelerated, driven by cattle ranching, mining, and large-scale agriculture, further reshaping the landscape. Nevertheless, many indigenous groups still persist, still practicing traditional ways of life alongside newly introduced technologies. Today, the area contains both indigenous reserves and conservation regions, reflecting an ongoing struggle to balance economic development with the protection of cultural heritage and the rainforest ecosystem. So, some interesting facts about the Amazon rainforest. Spanning some 5.5 million square kilometers, or 2.1 million square miles, the Amazon dwarfs many countries in size and covers roughly 40% of South America. The Amazon River discharges around 20% of the planet's fresh water into the Atlantic Ocean, more flow than the next 7 largest rivers combined.
That's crazy. And you were on the Amazon River. Is it that big?
It's huge. And that's the one thing that I don't want to use the word disappointing, because there's nothing disappointing about it, but movies make it seem like it's just like very jungly narrow. It's so wide.
Yeah.
It's like almost like a giant lake. You're just kind of motoring along. You're not like wall to wall, like monkeys swinging around.
Were there rapids or anything?
Not in the area I was. I'm sure there are.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't know, like 50 Milwaukee rivers side by side.
Wow.
It's huge.
Yeah.
I'll try and pull up pictures when you're talking.
Okay.
But and it's all murky.
Yeah.
Like you can't see anything at all. I know they're talking about some of the mammals, so I'll say it when we get to there, but
there's some stuff swimming in the waters you don't want to interact with.
Yeah, but people are swimming in it.
Yeah.
And stuff. And they're like, I was putting my hand in around like while we were fishing for piranha and stuff. And it's wild. So it's so cool though. I want to go back so bad. They do riverboat cruises.
Oh, cool.
Down the Amazon. I would love to do. So the region is home to at least 10% of all known species, including over 40,000 plant species, 400 plus mammal species, 1,300 plus bird species, and many species are found nowhere else on Earth.
From having kids now, I know about the birds because I've had to watch Rio about 1,000 times. So,
oh yeah, that's like it's all looks like the movie.
Yeah,
that's what's so cool about those places. Like a lot of times you watch cartoons or like embellishments, but like when you're in the forest, you're like, wow, this is that beautiful,
and they sing and dance.
Yes, yeah. And sound like the guy from the network movie, Social Network.
Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse Eisenberg or whatever. Yeah, they all sound like him. The Amazon houses hundreds of indigenous tribes, many of whom have independent languages and traditions. Some remain in voluntary isolation, living much as they have for centuries. Often called the planet's lungs, the Amazon acts as a massive carbon sink, storing billions of tons of carbon and helping moderate global weather patterns. Recent aerial surveys and archaeological work here have uncovered vast networks of ancient roads, ditches, and settlement sites, revealing complex pre-Columbian societies that once flourished there. The unusual Amazon River dolphin, locally known as botu, can appear pinkish in color, especially as males age and their skin becomes more translucent. We saw a bunch of those.
You did?
They're really cool, and they're so wild. They're pink dolphins.
And they're freshwater dolphins.
Yes.
Which is weird, because every other dolphin species is a...
And you can only see them when they breach, because you can't see through the water at all.
Yeah.
So like they'll just pop up out of nowhere all of a sudden. It's wild. Canopy giants like the kapok tree or Brazil nut tree can reach 60 to 70 meters. That's 200 plus feet in height, forming a lush overhead roof where many rainforest creatures dwell. Many modern medicines derive from Amazonian plants, and scientists believe a vast number of undiscovered cures still await study in its uncharted depths. So the climate. The upper Xingu region of Mato Grosso lies in a tropical climate zone with 2 main seasons. There's the wet season, characterized by heavy rainfall, which is October to April, extremely high humidity and frequent thunderstorms. Intense downpours can cause flooding, making travel more difficult and increasing mosquito populations. Then the dry season is May to September. Rainfall drops significantly and conditions become drier and more suitable for overland travel. Humidity remains relatively high, but not as extreme as the wet season. So we were there during dry season.
Yeah.
And it's so cool, like in Iquitos, the whole city is built with the expectation the water level is going to rise like 50 feet or whatever it is. So when you're going to the boat, they have all these makeshift bridges that are down there, and you can see the water line is like a building's height higher. and everything just floats up to that height when it's that high and then sinks back down when it's low again.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. So temperatures in the region are consistently warm, often ranging between 68 degrees Fahrenheit and 90 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Even in the drier months, the rainforest retains considerable humidity, contributing to its lush, dense vegetation. The Upper Xingu region of Mato Grosso features a diverse and transitional landscape between the southern Amazon rainforest and the Cerrado savanna to the south. Much of the terrain is low-lying or gently rolling, with networks of rivers, creeks, and wetlands that swell dramatically in the wet season along riverbanks and seasonal floodplains. Lush gallery forests line the water's edge. In drier stretches, the dense terra firma, which is the upland rainforest, transitions into patches of cerrado or Cerrado-like woodlands or open grassland. Occasional plateaus or higher ground break the otherwise relatively flat terrain, adding to the patchwork of the forest, savanna, and wetland characteristics of its biodiverse zone. So some of the animals, since we're not going to go through all like 12,000 of them,
Yeah.
Venomous snakes, jaguars, black caimans, those are large crocodiles, anacondas, piranhas, freshwater stingrays, electric eels, mosquitoes, but not just any mosquitoes, malaria and dengue fever mosquitoes, bullet ants, and Brazilian wandering spiders that sometimes cause medically significant bites or stings, kissing bugs, which transmit Chagas disease. Even the nice-sounding bugs are just terrible.
The kissing
for
bug
you.
gives you this terrible
That's
disease.
just like so you don't ever want to be on the ground there.
Yeah.
Pretty much. In the place we were staying, there were bullet ants everywhere. And like even the ones that like were the weak ones when they bit you, it felt like a bee sting.
Yeah. I saw a YouTube video of a guy who stuck his hand into a jar of bullet ants. And
yeah, he said it felt like a gunshot.
Yeah.
Which, now that I'm saying that, I wonder how he knows what a gunshot feels like. Although the guy that does something like that probably has been shot.
Probably.
So, and if all of the bugs and animals and venomous things that can kill you don't, extreme heat and humidity might. Dehydration, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke are constant concerns. Then there, again, as we said, the disease-carrying insects. Not only can the mosquito transmit malaria, dengue, and other illnesses, ticks, biting flies, and other insects pose risks as well. Among some of the venomous wildlife, pit vipers, bushmasters, and other snakes inhabit the forest floor. Spiders, scorpions, bullet ants deliver painful, dangerous bites. Then there's the water hazard. During the rainy season, flash floods and swollen rivers can create life-threatening conditions. Piranhas and stingrays and electric eels inhabit the local waters.
So you know what's crazy about...
Have you seen Jumanji when they're in the library?
So I've never been to, obviously, the Amazon rainforest, but I've been on the island of Kauai in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And we camped down in the valley in, you call it, it was a rainforest, basically. I mean, not like a rainforest like the Amazon, but such a distinction between... Like, on the island Kauai, there was, like, no snakes.
Like, no biodiversity?
No bugs. It was just, like, pleasant. Lots of plants and birds and stuff, but because of it, being an island and...
I wonder if it's also because it's, like, a new rainforest in such a small area, relatively speaking.
Maybe. But I was thinking...
That's just a guess.
All of the stuff you were talking about in the Amazon, like you said, you don't want to just sleep on the bare ground. Like...
Oh, everywhere you stepped, even in, like, we were in it wasn't like a village, but it was like a kind of developed village. Like it ran on generator. Mm-hmm. Like we had times where the lights would go out. Like it was very much off grid. Your food had to be like if what you wanted for lunch, you had to tell them the night before because they have one guy that goes in the morning in a boat to like the city several hours away. Yeah. Like you're in the forest and everywhere you walked, there's like, oh, line of bullet ants. Oh, there's a scorpion. Oh, we went on a night hike. And the kids were like crying because there's tarantulas like everywhere, like the centipede or millipedes are like a foot long, like all the scary things you see that like they're just everywhere, all the time.
Yeah, that is the exact opposite of my experience in Kauai. It was like you could have slept on the ground and been fine. Like there was the worst thing was up on the cliff ledges above us, there were some goats. That
so you just sleep away from the cliff?
Yeah, because they kick rocks down and stuff. Yeah. Sometimes they fall.
Yeah, so like you just don't go by there.
Yeah, you'd once in a while walk down the beach and just be like a dead goat because it fell. Like,
jeez. So yeah, it's and I want to go back so bad. Yeah, it's incredibly beautiful. So there's dense vegetation, so navigation can be very difficult.
We could go back and find the lost city of Z.
We should. Now that you gave it all away.
Well, they don't know what we're talking about yet.
Thick undergrowth and limited trail systems. No, we won't. Limited trail systems can cause hikers to become easily lost or disorientated, especially without reliable map-making GPS data. I said it for you.
There you go.
Disoriented. Limited infrastructure. So medical facilities, rescue services, and communication networks are sparse, making even minor emergencies potentially serious.
No 5G where you were?
Dude, sparse is not even a close word to, like, you're a 1 to 2 hour boat ride
Though I think
up the Amazon River away.
Sporadic service, because didn't I call you?
Yeah, they had like satellite internet.
Yeah, like
internet.
You were going down the river, and I talked to you. I think.
Yes, I went. But when I went by one of the cities, I was
Yeah.
like, I got signal, and you were asking about the show. I'm like, I'm in Peru, on the Amazon River. I was trying to send you a picture. A picture wouldn't even go out.
Yeah.
So tips for hiking safely in the Amazon rainforest. If you have to look up tips for hiking safely, you shouldn't go into the Amazon rainforest. You need to go on a more touristy guide first.
Yes.
But if you're not doing that, you want to employ an experienced local, reputable guide familiar with the terrain and indigenous customs for safe routes. You need to obtain proper permits to ensure you have permission to enter any protected areas or indigenous territories. Unauthorized entry can risk both your safety and local communities. Yeah, I never thought about like how you get permits to go in areas that aren't tour routes. Like, I want to go to a new uncharted area. How do you do that? Let's do that.
I don't know, so I'm
Let's
not
break my own rule. If I have to Google how to figure that out,
I have
probably
no
shouldn't.
clue, and I'm not going to speculate.
I want to do it.
Probably work with the government.
Yeah. Plan for health risks. So you want to get vaccinations for things like yellow fever and consider prophylaxis for malaria. Pack well-stocked medical kits, including remedies for insect bites and tropical diseases. You want strong insect repellent, and you want to wear long sleeves, pants, mosquito nets, tuck your clothing in your socks and boots to reduce exposure. You want to protect your skin from everything that wants to kill you there. You want to stay hydrated. So ample purified water, reliable water filtration is a must. When we were hiking there, you're never in the sun, and you've never sweat more in your life from doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like riding in a boat, you're sweating, even though the wind's blowing. Like you're just
humid.
wet. Yeah.
It's just like a sauna.
Oh, the whole time, no matter what, where you are, night, day, you're just sweating.
You're sweaty.
Yes. And I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it so much. It was one of the hardest hikes I had to do from sweat. And I had to I was carrying some of my kids who were like gonna have heat exhaustion. So I was carrying them and through the rainforest. It was a lot of fun. Respect the wildlife. You got to watch out for snakes, spiders, caimans. Never reach into hollow logs, dense underbrush without checking first. Just basically don't touch anything.
Don't touch the ground
It's
other than with your feet.
Yeah, you know how you go to the museum and they have the stuff on display, you're not supposed to touch it? Don't do it there either. Follow the same rules. Have your reliable navigation, GPS, proper maps. Thick forest canopy can disrupt signals, so you want to have a satellite phone, but you're going to need a clear shot of the sky for it to even work. You want to travel light, but be prepared. Pack essential gear, so shelter, first aid, clothing, layers, waterproofing, without overloading. Terrain is challenging, and remote rescue will be slow. So, Mike, tell us about Percy Fawcett.
Yeah, so the character of this episode is Percy Harrison Fawcett. He was born August 18th of 1867. He went missing. This is the most widely accepted last known date of contact, May 29th of 1925. His remains have never been found. He was a male, age 57. He was estimated to be about 6'1" to 6'2". Hair color, he was described as fair or light colored hair with blue or steely blue eyes. Clothing, we don't have a definitive record describing exactly what he was wearing on the day he disappeared, but we do have photographs of period style clothing that he was wearing. So photographs of Fawcett prior to and during his various expeditions show him dressed in lightweight practical attire suited for tropical climates. And Joe is, while we're talking here, he's going to pull up some cool pictures from his trip that when he was there. How long ago was that now?
2022.
Before COVID?
Yeah.
Oh, no, during COVID.
Yeah, during COVID.
Interesting. So he also would have worn, like many explorers of the era, broad-brimmed hat, sometimes a felt, soft-crowned hat, or lightweight bush hat in photographs. Pith helmets were also popular among explorers, but images suggest Fawcett more commonly wore other hats. He would often wear khaki or light-colored cotton shirts and trousers, or as the British called breeches.
This is a shot from the plane flying
Okay.
into Iquitos. Like, look at that. That's all forest canopy.
Yeah. You sharing it?
Yes.
Okay.
So keep talking, but
Yeah.
I just want to give context if anyone's actually watching. Like, those are trees and we're above the clouds, just as far as you can see.
Yeah.
And like every now and then there's river.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's so big.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's 40% of South America.
I know, but it's just so wild because when you're from America, when you're in a plane, even when you're like looking out into like the desert, you're flying over the Nevada desert.
Yeah.
You'll see a little town here or a road. Like there's always signs that people are somewhere in the area.
Yeah.
This is the first place I went to. I'm like, there's
nothing.
I'm looking at places. I'm like, I don't think anyone's ever been there.
Yeah.
Like you look at places, you're like, I don't know if any human's ever been just to that area.
Yeah, maybe not.
I know. That's what's wild about it.
He would have worn sturdy leather boots or lace-up shoes, often combined with gaiters to protect against insects, water, and the dense undergrowth. He would have worn a belt or bandolier for carrying small items, a pistol or machete. And he mentioned that insects were a major torment, so he likely would have worn long sleeves or trouser legs to protect from bites. Medical issues, we don't really know if he had any issues, but contemporary descriptions emphasize Fawcett's robust constitution. He was known for enduring extreme conditions, including tropical fevers and heavy physical exertion, with fewer apparent ill effects than his companions. And like many explorers of his era, Fawcett did contract illnesses such as fevers and infections during prior expeditions. However, there is no record of him carrying a lingering or chronic ailment on his final journey. Occupation or hobby. So by this time in his life, he was basically an independent explorer. He had retired from the British Army years earlier, so he was retired independent explorer. Experience in the wilderness, so he was widely regarded as one of the most experienced explorers of his day, particularly when it came to the Amazon rainforest. So no one else of his era would have been more experienced.
So he knew the area.
He knew the area. So
Okay.
experience in that location. So he had considerable overall experience in the Amazon by the time he vanished in May of 1925, but his final trek took him into a particularly remote part of the Brazilian rainforest up in the Xingu River area, where his direct firsthand experience was more limited. So getting right into the timeline, I will cover a bit of what he did before his disappearance, and then we'll cover some things that happened after his disappearance. So in 1886, he commissioned into the Royal Artillery, though references vary on whether it was the late 1886 or early 1887, but 1886 is the most commonly cited year. Late in 1888, while stationed in Ceylon, which is modern-day Sri Lanka, Fawcett is shown a mysterious map purportedly leading to buried treasure. So from an early age, he was interested in exploration, treasure hunting, exploring the unknown. So, and this is kind of one of the most earliest examples of that I could find. So he actually embarked on a short treasure hunting trip inland, but finds nothing except rocks. This obviously is his first taste of exploration and ignites his passion for venturing into uncharted territories. 1901, he joins the Royal Geographical Society, known as RGS, and wanted to devote his life to exploration. This is really cool. So I don't know if a lot of people know he was also a British spy at one point.
That's awesome.
So in 1902, the British government sent him to Morocco officially as a cartographer, but actually to spy on the Sultan for the British government. The mission is a success, enhancing his reputation back home. So that's pretty cool. I actually...
He's like their James Bond.
I actually looked up if he was one of the inspirations for Indiana Jones. He wasn't.
I was a small Cayman right there.
I was disappointed when I found out that he wasn't, because I just picture, if you've seen the older Indiana Jones when, a younger Harrison Ford, I kind of picture.
It sounds exactly like that guy.
So not actually based on this guy, but I still looked it up because I was curious. 1906, he gets more formal training at the RGS in surveying and map making. And after this training, the RGS assigns Fawcett to map and settle a border dispute between Bolivia and Brazil in the Amazon. So he accepts a commission from the Bolivian government with RGS backing to help survey areas along the Bolivia-Brazil border. Departure dates vary, but most sources place his arrival in South America in mid-1906. So between 1906 and 1907 is his first major expedition. He surveys a remote region in Bolivia and parts of the Brazilian frontier. He gains a reputation for rigorous surveying methods and enduring harsh jungle conditions. From 1908 to 1911, he returns periodically to the border areas of Bolivia, Brazil, and Peru to continue reconnaissance and boundary mapping. During this time, possibly in 1908, he has an alleged giant anaconda sighting. So Fawcett later wrote about encountering and possibly shooting an exceptionally large anaconda, a story that spurred both fascination and skepticism. I did find some sources that say that this happened in 1906. So like in the last episode, this is such an old case that some of the dates are a little fluid.
Yeah.
So take that as you will. He endures threats of mutiny and near starvation on some of these early explorations, but the experience inspires Arthur Conan Doyle to write The Last World, which was published in 1912. In 1910, he explores the Peru-Bolivia border region with polar explorer James Murray. The mission goes so poorly due to Murray becoming ill in the tropical climate that the expedition had to turn back. During this time, there were further boundary surveys in the Amazon basin. In letters to colleagues and private notes, he refers to rumors of an advanced indigenous civilization in the jungles.
I mean, look at this dude.
I know. He looks like your typical early 20th century explorer.
I know, right? But he's got like a modern handsome to him. Yeah. With that sweet handlebar mustache, smoking that pipe.
Yeah.
Look at that dude.
I mean, that's a guy, if you're like stuck in the wilderness, you're like, thank you. I'm with this guy.
Yeah, he's a badass. Like he's taking care of the situation.
Yes. Are you sharing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
No, because these pictures are cool. I was looking at a lot of the different pictures of him earlier. Like I said, so in letters to colleagues and in private notes he references rumors of an advanced indigenous civilization in the jungles. This is the early germ of what he later calls Z. So this is kind of one of the earlier references to his growing fascination with this topic. So, and he also was kind of considered an amateur archaeologist. So he also found what he believed to be the remains of ancient roads and pottery shards in earth and mountains. And from what we learned from Joe earlier in the episode during the interesting facts, that in fact, modern archaeologists are now finding remnants of roads and things that he was finding 100 years ago. So very interesting.
Oh yeah, with their like laser surveying.
Yeah. So it's now 1911, and this isn't really related to Percy, but it's more related to the general area. So the American explorer Hiram Bingham III rediscovers Machu Picchu in Peru, demonstrating that large hidden ruins can indeed exist in remote areas. So that is kind of wild to me that
Peru was so new.
Machu Picchu wasn't rediscovered until 1911.
Yeah. I'm gonna scroll up there because we went to that too, and it was wild because they showed pictures of what it looked like.
Yeah,
just back then it was like completely covered.
Yeah. So it's now between 1913 and 1914. So Fawcett makes a brief trip back to Britain. He addresses members of the RGS on his findings. Now, unfortunately for his
wife's got the locations in known hat. Not a big deal.
Not a big deal.
Representing at Machu Picchu.
So, Joe, what was a big thing that happened mid 1914?
I don't have anything in the top of my head. Like, did it involve the whole world?
It might have.
Was it Germany playing games and pissing everybody off?
Might have been.
I think I know what you're talking about.
So, just when Fawcett was starting to hit his stride in his exploration journey, World War I breaks out. So he actually had to return to military duty and suspended his exploration plans. So from 1914 to 1918, he served on the Western Front in Flanders, likely as a Royal Artillery officer, rising to the rank of major. Sources differ on the exact honors he received, but some mention that he was mentioned in dispatches multiple times. Others suggest he received the Distinguished Service Order or a similar high-level commendation. Primary war records are sparse, so the exact award remains slightly disputed. Despite being on the front lines, he continued studying exploration literature and collects indigenous myths about hidden cities. So it was during this time that we're not exactly sure on when he discovered this next document. It was in the time range of 1906 to the early 1920s. So we don't have a better date. There's some sources that have a more concise date, but they're not super accurate. But this is when he discovers manuscript 512. So, like I said, most researchers believed he encountered it sometime between 1906 and the early 1920s, likely while he was studying at the National Library of Brazil in Rio de Janeiro. This manuscript claimed that in 1753, a Portuguese man discovered the ruins of an ancient city. The city was said to contain arches of great height, Roman-style pillars, a statue of a man with a laurel crown. The stories, his archaeological findings, and the account from manuscript 512 lead Fawcett to believe that there was a city near the Xingu River in the Brazilian state of Mato Grosso. So, and he named this the City of Z. So this is kind of where he really starts getting into the whole lost city of Z thing in the Amazon rainforest. So it's now between 1919 and 1920. He returns to South America for additional surveying. He now encounters new local legends in the region about lost cities, intensifying his belief in a sophisticated ancient urban center, which he designates as Z. He heard stories of a tribe who were described as having been fair as the English, with fairer auburn hair. He also believed that the people there could be descendants of the survivors of Atlantis. His accounts and reports from others say that he was amicable with the local indigenous people. He was known to have given gifts and been courteous to the people he met. So a lot of people said that he did very well with the locals and indigenous people, that he never really had issues with them. So that'll play into theories later on. So it's now the time period of 1920 to 1921. He leads a smaller expedition to pinpoint possible approaches to the Z region. The journey suffers from illness and a lack of funds, cut short before reaching deep into unexplored areas. He actually had to shoot his pack animals at his final camping site, a site that thereafter referred to as Dead Horse Camp. So, and some historians and even Fawcett's own family accounts note that Fawcett used the same camp name during a previous expedition, possibly in the 1920, 1921 years when he was exploring that region. So you may hear Dead Horse Camp. It's potential that he used the same camp name previously, so just keep that in mind. So it's now 1922 to 1923. He returns to England. He now goes on a publicity campaign, writes articles, gives lectures, and networks with potential sponsors, including newspapers, to fund a large-scale expedition. This period sees a rise in public fascination with lost worlds, obviously, which was inspired by the 1912 novel The Lost World, which was
aptly named,
which was actually influenced by Fawcett's earlier expeditions. So by 1924, he's slowly starting to get.
Oh, here you go. He's a small caiman.
Yeah. Yeah.
For those who are listening in the background, I'm just playing footage from when I was in the Peruvian Amazon rainforest.
Yeah. So, like I said, 1924, he slowly started securing funding for his next big exploration. It was a mixture of private backers, possible newspaper sponsorships, and personal funds. He planned to keep the team small to avoid antagonizing the indigenous communities and to remain agile in the jungle. So we are getting closer to the date he disappeared. It is now January of 1925. He departs England, accompanied by his eldest son, Jack Fawcett, who is around 21, and Jack's friend, Raleigh Rimmel. Their goal was to strike into the heart of the Xingu River region to locate Z. So they packed light. They were known to have brought with them mosquito netting, canned food, machetes, and other provisions. Speaking to reporters, Fawcett vowed, "We shall return and we shall bring back what we seek." So very confident that they were going to find it on this exploration. At some point here, Joe, there should be. I found some maps. I didn't save them, but there's some maps of the area that he was planning to explore on this excursion. They cover a lot of terrain, which is pretty amazing.
Okay.
I think at one point they were covering 10 to 15 miles a day, which in that thick underbrush, and that's tough.
Oh, it's absolutely insane.
Yeah. There's down and over one to you, right? That one. Yeah, if you could expand that. I think this is the final trek he did before he disappeared.
Okay.
Yeah, there's Dead Horse. Oh, yeah, Dead Horse Camp A, Dead Horse Camp B. There might be other maps, too. I don't know. That's one I was looking at earlier. So it's now February to March 1925. So the trio arrive in Rio de Janeiro, then press inland by train or boat to reach Cuiabá, the capital of the state. So logistics, they needed to acquire food, medical gear, pack animals, and local guides. Some local recruits accompany them partly along their way. When they finally set off, their party consisted of Fawcett, Jack, Raleigh, two Brazilian laborers, 2 horses, 8 mules, and a pair of dogs. So it's now late March to early April of 1925. The party journeys north from Cuiabá into increasingly remote territory. Several local guides eventually turn back, leaving just the core group. Fawcett's journals, as cited by later researchers, indicate he was in good spirits and believed they were closing in on the region rumored to contain ruins. So letters from Fawcett describe the dangerous jungle they traveled through, the dense undergrowth, piranha-infested rivers, and mosquitoes and gnats that made literally every moment miserable. Raleigh's foot, even at one point, became extremely swollen from tick bites. So, and like I said, despite all of these setbacks, Fawcett set a very demanding pace of 10 to 15 miles a day. So,
yeah, through that thick stuff, that'd be wild.
Yeah, so at this point, the expedition was lightly equipped. They had minimal provisions, a 22 caliber rifle, surveying tools, some gifts for the Indians, and a mysterious black basalt statue given by novelist H. Rider Haggard. So May 1925, they establish campsite, which they referred to as Dead Horse Camp. Like I said, this name likely references an incident from the previous expedition where he had to shoot one of his pack animals. We now move on to the last known date for this expedition. So May 29th of 1925, Fawcett's last known letter is dictated or written, sent via native runner back towards civilization. In it, he expresses optimism and instructs that if the party disappears, no rescue attempts should be made due to the risk. And no one followed that that statement because there were a lot of searches for him after his disappearance. So Fawcett dismisses one of the local indigenous guides who carry back his last official dispatch on May 29th, stating he is heading into unknown territory and may be out of contact for up to 2 years. So the three men ventured into the rainforest alone and were never seen. Early June 1925, they would have pushed deeper into the uncharted area of the Xingu River area. Unfortunately, no further communications were received, and they essentially vanished without a trace. So it wasn't until 1927, nearly 2 years, before people even started kind of looking into his disappearance. So newspapers began reporting on rumors of the explorer's fate, ranging from captivity by the indigenous people to Fawcett having gone native. 1928, George Miller Dot of the Royal Geographical Society leads the first major rescue and search expedition. He finds no conclusive evidence of Fawcett or his companions' whereabouts, fueling continued speculation. Late 1928 to the 1930s, multiple search expeditions are launched by individuals, newspapers, and the Brazilian government. None yield conclusive evidence of Fawcett or his companion's fate. They did not adhere to his wishes of saying, "Do not come look for us because of the danger." Many people ended up looking for him, and it was estimated that up to 100 people died or vanished during these rescues or investigative efforts. So
jeez,
a lot of people went out there and died and didn't heed his caution of, if we don't come back, do not come out here looking for us. So
yeah.
In Joyce's 1930 book, Manhunting in the Jungle, described rumored visions of Fawcett's death, but offers no proof. In 1937, a story circulates about a white Indian boy called Dulepe, rumored to be Jack Fawcett's son by an indigenous woman. He is later killed in 1959. And over the subsequent decades, various clues occasionally surfaced. In 1927, a nameplate is reportedly found. In 1933, a survey instrument surfaces. In 1979, one of Fawcett's rings allegedly appears, but none of these discoveries definitively prove what happened to him, nor are they all universally accepted. So yeah, over the decades, rumors persisted. Theories ranged from death at the hands of hostile tribes to disease or starvation to integration into the indigenous community, but no definitive proof has ever been found. In 1959, one of the chiefs for one of the local indigenous tribes claimed they had killed Fawcett after he insulted them, but the details conflict with Fawcett's known respect that he had for the indigenous peoples. And then bones were actually supposedly identified as Fawcett's. They were shipped to England, and experts concluded that they are too old and small and were not of Fawcett. In 1985, a new set of bones labeled Fawcett appear in Brazil. They were examined by a forensic anthropologist who worked on the Nazi war criminal Mengele's remains. He confirmed they are not Fawcett's, likely were an American Indian skeleton sold to a gullible explorer. So, 1996, a group led by businessman James Lynch is captured by Amazonian Indians and held for ransom. They only survive by surrendering their expensive equipment. In 2005, journalist David Gran retraces part of Fawcett's route and connects with some of the local indigenous people to recount in their oral history that Fawcett ignored their warnings and may have been killed by a hostile tribe. So, very interesting. This story has gone on for decades and decades and has spawned a lot of theories about what happened. And people still to this day look for the lost city of Z. There was a movie about it recently. There's been lots of books about it. So, real quickly, I'll get into just a brief idea of what is the lost city of Z. So, like I said, the lost city of Z was the name Percy Fawcett gave to a rumored ancient settlement deep in the Amazon rainforest, drawing on early Spanish and Portuguese accounts, such as Manuscript 512 and indigenous oral traditions. Fawcett believed that a hidden city of great sophistication lay undiscovered in the Amazon rainforest. He posited that it might have once been part of a larger, more advanced civilization, sometimes likened to the new El Dorado. So could have it even existed? That's very controversial. A lot of people don't think it ever could have existed, and a lot of others think it could. So while Fawcett's specific vision of a single monumental city with temples and vast stone structures has never been found, archaeological research has increasingly shown that parts of the Amazon supported complex pre-Columbian societies. Recent discoveries of extensive earthworks, road networks, and large organized settlements suggest that the region was home to populous and innovative cultures before European contact. This does indicate that although Z, as Fawcett imagined, may not have existed as one grand urban center, the underlying premise of advanced Amazonian civilizations was not entirely unfounded.
Google Earth doesn't know where the lost city of Z is.
Oh, I couldn't find it?
Yep, no results. No results found. That's too bad.
Darn, we could have cracked it. So,
let's see if he does Dead Horse Camp. Sometimes they'll include things like that.
Maybe someone has gone there.
Dead Horse Camp state of... Yeah, look at this. Dead Horse Camp. There it is, in the middle of nowhere.
Is that really... That can't be it.
It's...
it's
Mato Grosso.
Yeah? Huh.
That's the area. Oh,
Looks
it's in a chunk of area that's being deforested.
That's too bad.
That is too bad.
Wow,
which actually
really deforested.
Yeah, which actually makes me wonder why they can't find them now, if it's just that dense.
That might not be the right Dead Horse Camp, too. That looks like a farming settlement almost. Like, zoom in closer. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. Who knows? They named several camps Dead Horse Camp, so look up the Xingu River. Find that.
Good call.
So, what do modern experts think of this whole theory of the lost city of Z? So, for one, archaeological evidence is mixed. So, scholars have uncovered remnants of large habitation sites, particularly in the upper Xingu region, that feature defensive ditches, raised agricultural fields, and sophisticated fish farming methods. These findings do imply that a higher population density and more advanced political organization was once there, but no single lost city has been found, and experts generally see the Amazon as containing multiple interconnected settlement clusters rather than a solitary massive city. But anthropologists like Michael Heckenberger have documented garden cities, medium-sized towns linked by roads and flanked by managed forests, offering a nuanced view of how major communities could flourish without looking like the stone pyramids of the Maya or Aztecs. So Fawcett's legacy in all this Most researchers conclude that while Fawcett's romantic notion of a Z was speculative, his intuition that Amazon harbored once thriving civilizations was prescient, and giving ongoing discoveries about the region's pre-Columbian past a pretty good likelihood. So, very interesting character. I don't think we'll ever find his remains in that is such a dense forest, and you got to think all the animals and insects would have, anything that dies in that forest becomes part of the forest pretty quick.
Yeah.
And it's so dense. I mean, can you imagine trying to do a search and rescue operation in the rainforest of the Amazon rainforest? I mean,
yep,
that would be tough.
Yeah, there it is. Dead Horse Camp.
Oh, you plugged in the actual
coordinates. Yeah.
So, yeah, it's pretty not built up, but it's sadly, you zoom out, there's a lot of farming going on.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate, like a lot. I mean, that whole area has kind of been clear cut.
Yeah. Or at least I wonder if that's not necessarily, that is like clear cut. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, are those trees just laying there?
I don't know. Or it's like irrigation.
Huh. So, theories. What everyone's waits for. I'll go through the main theories that people speculate. And I'll kind of give a for and against for each one of these theories. So, the main theory that a lot of researchers, hold the most weight is they were killed by a hostile tribe. So, this is one of those frequently cited theories. So, Fawcett's party encountered an indigenous group that, for various reasons, either a cultural conflict, a misunderstanding, a desire for their supplies, chose to kill them. And this is not a far-fetched theory. This is, like I mentioned, there was a recent expedition in the early 2000s where they were held by ransom. I'm not blaming the indigenous tribes.
It's just what happened.
It's their land. And these strange foreign people are encroaching on their land, and
yeah, you're going to protect your home.
You're going to protect your home and family. It's human nature. And in this day and age, people have better sense to not venture into, because at this point, a lot of these indigenous tribes, their areas are mapped. Like, people know where they are and know where they shouldn't be going.
Mm-hmm.
So in Percy's time, I mean, you looked where Dead Horse Camp was now, a lot of it's clear cut. In his time, it was all just dense, uncharted forest.
Yeah.
And no one knew what was out there. So it's very possible. And he was even warned by the more friendlier local indigenous tribes to not go out there. So.
Yeah, when the locals are telling you it's a bad idea.
Yeah. Tribal oral histories, some indigenous stories recount strangers who angered villagers by refusing local customs or requesting resources without offering gifts were killed. Fawcett was heading into a territory known for its isolation and occasional hostility to outsiders, and other explorers did face deadly conflict in the same area, lending, plausibility to this outcome. So maybe maybe this theory is off base. So it was no conclusive evidence ever found. So several finds of bones or artifacts attributed to Fawcett turned out to be hoaxes or belonged to other people. And Fawcett was known to maintain good relations with many tribes by being courteous, giving gifts, and avoiding violence. So this would have reduced but not eliminated the chance of a fatal clash. So still possible, but
it's 150 miles, just like that little spot. There's nothing.
Yeah,
but trees and dense rainforest.
And he was doing 10 to 15 miles a day. Now that's as the crow flies.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. But this is just a random spot. Like, just to show the size.
Yeah,
like that's not even the whole distance between. There's nothing.
And that's modern.
Yeah, this is right now.
Yeah, go back 120 years and.
Yeah, then you get up he wasn't up here, but
yeah, it's even more remote.
Yeah, these are a couple huts off a river.
Yeah.
Look at that. That's just so much nothing.
Yeah. So another big theory was death by starvation, disease, or accident. I think this is a up there with my, with a hostile encounter. So, even Fawcett's own notes mention difficult terrain, illness, minimal supplies. It's possible his small group caught some tropical fever, malnutrition, drowning, or some similar fate. Obviously, the environment was very challenging. The upper Xingu Rainforest region is rife with deadly snakes, disease-carrying insects, dangerous river crossings, and limited food sources for outsiders. Fawcett deliberately traveled light with few pack animals and minimal rations, so your margin of error when you're packing that light is very small.
Yeah,
nothing
absolutely.
can go wrong. So if anything goes wrong, even a small incident could spiral out of control quickly. And like I said earlier, there's a precedent for explorers frequently dying of fever and starvation in remote areas like this. So completely not out of the realm of possibility.
Isn't that crazy to die starvation in a place with so much life?
Yeah, but I mean, you're not from there. You don't know what's edible. You don't know how. You don't have any of the tools to catch.
That's what's
food.
That's what's wild to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much life around you, but also you don't have any of the skills to.
Yep.
The indigenous tribes have lived there for thousands of years off the land.
They're not going.
And they're not gonna. If you're out in the real remote rainforest, if you find an indigenous tribe, they may be hostile towards you. They're not gonna help you necessarily. So I think very possible, but some counterpoints to this theory. So no remains were ever found. Even in severe conditions, one might expect to eventually discover equipment or skeletal evidence. And his own experience, he was known for extraordinary endurance, having survived prior expeditions where others fell gravely ill or gave up. That doesn't rule out misfortune, but it does.
I think it can make somebody maybe think they can do more than they should, though.
Yeah, and I mean,
you could do that.
This expedition, he was 57, so not a young man anymore. So at some point, age, Father Time is going to catch up with him. Yeah. Maybe that happened on this expedition. Couple more theories. So one of the theories out there is that he integrated into a tribal community either against his will or voluntarily. So some have proposed that Fawcett, disillusioned or stranded, elected to remain with a tribe. This theory has produced rumors of white Indians or sightings of a European man living deep in the forest. So like I said, there's been local stories sometimes mention tall foreigners living among the tribes. A few search parties reported hearing rumors of a European man living deep in the jungle. And even in Fawcett's own letters, he described the hardships he and his family endured for the sake of exploration. So it's possible he just decided, this is my final exploration, and I'm staying here. Though, counterpoints against that theory. So there were no verified sightings of him. So, and this is despite waves of search expeditions over decades. No one found a tribe openly harboring a European man who could be Fawcett or his companions.
He's a Sasquatch of the northern Amazon. Just a tall, white British guy wandering the forest, scaring all the indigenous tribes.
Yeah. And, even though he was exasperated by his financial woes, Fawcett was determined to find Z and return triumphant. So this would be uncharacteristic of just him in general to just give up and leave.
You would think after his popularity from his other stuff, he would be able to raise funds.
Well, in 2025, you would have a podcast and a YouTube show, but this is 1925.
Yeah.
So a little different time.
Yep.
Harder to become a star back then.
Should have lived 100 more years.
Yeah, 100 more years, and he could have been on our show, and we could have interviewed him. So another theory is he actually did find the lost city of Z.
I was going to go there. That was going to be my off the deep end.
Yeah, so one of the more far out theories was he did stumble upon the very ruins he was looking for, and an advanced civilization lost in the rainforest and chose to remain there, or he accessed some esoteric secret.
like Kingdom of the Crystal Skulls, the best Indiana Jones movie ever made.
That one of the older ones?
No, that's the new one that everyone hates.
Oh, yeah. I watched it once. And
I said that just to trigger anyone.
okay. It was awful.
It was entertaining.
Is that the one that starts?
You know my rule about it's the one.
Is that the one that starts where he survives a nuclear explosion in an old refrigerator?
Yes.
Okay. When that happened, I knew where this movie was going. Like, here we go. Buckle up. It's going to be a doozy.
It was entertaining.
And he's old.
Yeah, he's old.
It'd be like your elderly
I
grandfather.
liked the idea of Shia LaBeouf becoming the new Indiana Jones, and they just kind of stopped.
Yeah.
Because they probably lost money on the ones that they made.
I mean, I like Harrison Ford just as much as the next person, but at some point you just got to know when to hang up your action movie.
Yeah, know when to hang up the whip.
Hang up the whip.
Hang up the whip and satchel.
I remember hearing Arnold talk about, because he kept doing Terminator movies into like his 60s.
Yeah.
And I think it was like Terminator 4. He was like in his late 50s, and he said he had to get down to 10% body fat. And he said
I can't do it anymore.
He said it was the hardest thing he ever had to do in his life. It was incredibly hard.
I don't want to play the Terminator anymore.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
Yeah, he's like, I don't think I'm ever going to do that again.
It's not the tumor. Do it. Get to the chopper.
So back to this theory.
Sorry.
So, that's okay. Pretty good.
We'll just edit it out.
We won't.
All right.
So yeah, maybe he found the city. So he was deeply interested in mysticism, carried relics he believed had supernatural powers, and consulted clairvoyants. Some speculate he found what he considered to be spiritual Atlantis. So theories against this, probably more than I'm going to list here, but lack of any tangible evidence. So no archaeological site matching Fawcett's specific description has ever been found that would correlate with his disappearance. And even if he had located uncharted ruins, surviving alone or with just two others without reemerging or leaving further clues is highly improbable, because he just didn't have much gear or food with him.
That's a good point. Like, the farther you go in, it's the farther you have to come back out.
Yeah.
And it's not like you came in on this well-groomed trail.
No.
It's just as hard, probably, maybe a little bit easier getting out.
And even like the pack animals, he had to shoot them on a different exploration because they
couldn't hack it,
or they ran out of food. Or,
yeah.
I don't know. So, and then just throughout the years, there's been a lot of hoaxes and conspiracy theories around his disappearance and the lost city of Z. So lots of, air quotes, discoveries of bones and personal effects have turned out to be frauds or misidentifications. And there's been a lot of fringe ideas around mystical or paranormal causes, but they all lack serious historical support. So what do you think happened?
I think he died in the jungle.
All right, case closed.
I just think that's the most probable.
Yeah.
He's going into deeply uncharted areas, and I think you can only do that so many times and have those types of issues and survive them.
Yeah.
Off the deep end is he totally discovered the lost city of Z. It's a mythical Atlantis where he's now in existence in another realm within the jungle.
Yeah, a jungle on a different plane of existence.
Like Black Panther, what's that city called?
Wakanda?
Yeah, well, he's like in the South American Wakanda, the lost city of Z right now.
Yeah. No,
and he comes out every now and then, and that's where he gets cited, like
he's the
tall British, he's a tall British white Sasquatch of South America.
I think he had an encounter with a hostile tribe, just based on the fact that some of the local indigenous people that were friendly to them warned them, where you're going, you could encounter hostile tribes that will kill you. And they didn't heed that advice.
I would say it's right up there with just died in the jungle.
Yeah, I mean, either that or they got, one of the many tropical diseases that can kill you, like fevers or, malaria or anything like that. Yeah. And just couldn't get out, too weak or sick. But I think you got to think those indigenous people know the forest really well.
I couldn't imagine being really ill in that scenario.
Just how miserable, like humid.
Just because of like how it was when I was healthy.
Yeah.
And and we were on.
Now do that 100 years ago.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, the difference is for the people that were watching, I had on there just kind of I had a couple videos of us just hiking on some of the paths, and they were well groomed. I'll pull back up real quick. These are well groomed, and I was sweating buckets.
Yeah.
But this is a path. We're walking. It's not difficult. They said, we only had to walk this because during the wet season, you take a boat up this.
Yeah.
The water level's 10 feet above our head. So you just take a boat above it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was sweating like crazy during this hike.
Yeah.
Just to get to a place that was well groomed.
I'll do this for 2 years eating canned food.
Well, and they're bushwhacking.
Yeah.
They're cutting through it. So they're physically, not only are they doing the hike,
yeah,
they're carrying gear. We didn't have to carry gear. And they're, hacking away all that vegetation.
And were you sleeping in a hotel at night?
It was we were in beds.
You were in beds. Okay, yeah. They're sleeping
Yeah.
on the ground every night.
Yes.
So yeah, miserable, sweaty, hot existence.
This is a little bit look at how dense that is.
Yeah, so they're cutting through
you
that.
have to cut through that. And it's like that in every direction for hundreds of miles.
And they were doing 10 to 15 miles a day.
That's insane.
Yeah. So
when we're on hikes, 10 to 15 is kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Because it's doable.
Yeah.
It takes up 6 to 8 hours if you're in the mountains, if you're carrying your pack.
Yeah.
And you're exhausted. And again, we're on paths, not bushwhacking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane.
And everything around us isn't trying to kill us.
Yes, exactly.
No, so yeah, I truly think that probably the local indigenous tribes, that's their homeland. They've been there forever. They know it. So, these guys come into the woods, they don't even have a chance if the tribe is hostile to them.
Yeah.
So I think it's a combination of.
Yeah, we hung out with one of the indigenous tribes I think I was showing it in pictures. Hold on, let me go there.
But yeah, I think
they were showing us how they do blowgun. Yeah, and they would poison the tips to shoot animals and people and paralyze you.
Percy could have been just walking, bushwhacking, and all of a sudden, thoop, one of those hits him in the neck and he's done.
Yep.
I mean, so yeah, I think if disease didn't get them, I think they probably encountered a hostile tribe. And because of just how dense the forest is, the remains were just never found because there was a lot of expeditions looking for him, and they just didn't find anything. I imagine they're super accurate with those darts.
Oh yeah, look how long that thing is, and I don't know if I zoom in on it, but he had that little face mask and he shot it right in the forehead.
Yeah. No, so
my wife then went and she nailed it dead on, and they're all looking at her wow, you're good at this. I missed all of them.
Yeah.
I didn't do a good job at all.
So yeah, I think very interesting story. I had obviously I knew about the lost city of Z, but I really didn't know anything about it or who came up with it or anything like that. I don't think I've seen the movie. It came out not too long ago.
Yeah, I didn't see it either because it's called The Lost City of Z. It's Amazon original, so you can look it up. What's his name from Sons of Anarchy?
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Hunman is the main character he plays. Robert Pattinson's in it. Tom Holland's in it.
Yeah.
So there's some people in there, some good actors and actresses.
Yeah. So yeah, I never.
Sienna Miller's in it.
I had never seen it, but I've heard of the story, but I never knew it in this detail. And I didn't know anything about
2016 it came out.
Percy.
Yeah, so I'm gonna watch that tonight when I go back. I did watch Dante's Peak, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
What did you think?
I loved it.
But it's awful.
Oh, it's awful. It's so awful. But I watched it for sure. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it was one of Pierce Brosnan's best films.
I mean, not GoldenEye?
No, better than Golden.
Not what's the movie where him and Robin Williams?
Well, he's in Mamma Mia.
Mamma Mia. What's the other one? Where Robin Williams dresses up like a grandma.
Oh, Mrs. Doubtfire.
He's in Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. Yep. Better than all of them.
A drive-by fruiting.
Yep, he survives a volcanic eruption by driving a truck into an old abandoned mine.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it now.
It was terrible, but I loved it.
Well, I'm gonna have to watch The Lost City of Xeno.
I'm gonna go home and watch it.
What's the tomato score?
Oh, we should look that up. Let me see.
Depending on that, I might not watch it.
Right.
my time.
Okay, are you a critic score or a
audience
score?
Yeah.
Okay. Which one's the audience? Tomato or popcorn?
I don't know. Just it should say
the tomato meter.
One on the right is the audience.
Okay, so all right.
It's not sounding good.
Tomato meter. The critic score gave it 86%.
Okay.
Popcorn meter, which is the audience score, 58%.
Oof.
So you have a 50-50 chance you're gonna like it.
My rule of thumb for like a movie in theaters is I won't go to see it unless it's got to be a 70% audience score or higher.
Audience score.
Audience score.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You're a trust the audience, not the critics.
Yeah, I mean, critics are one thing. I feel like audience, especially if there's like 10,000 reviews and it's above a 70%.
Yeah, I've seen
enough.
movies where like the critics are like 90% and the audience is like 5%, and it's a terrible movie.
Yeah, just because movies, like, you got to go somewhere and pay money. Like, I'm not going to just go and watch a cruddy movie in a theater. So it's got to be kind of good.
No, I agree. It's on Amazon, so
yeah,
I'm going to watch it.
I'm going to watch it, too.
I'm going to watch it.
I like that actor. I used to love Sons of Anarchy.
Yes.
So.
You don't anymore?
Well, I watched it and...
Just give me
Who's the other guy in it that's got, like, a giant face? You know what I'm talking about? He played Hellboy.
Yeah. I don't know his name.
He's just I just picture him in my head. He's like a huge face.
He's got a giant face.
Anyone listening, if you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks again for tuning into our show. We appreciate you all for listening, sharing locations unknown with your friends and family. Be sure to like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, where you can find all the videos for each episode. We also have a LinkedIn page. So go to LinkedIn.
Don't know why.
Somebody messages us on there like twice a year. That's why I keep it running. And when we do our live stream, I'm going to live stream it to LinkedIn. Like among the other normal places.
Three recruiters will be watching.
I know they're going to be like, congratulations on your job. Yeah. Like, whatever. So anyway, if you would like to support us monetarily, please visit our website or Facebook store. You can buy some sweet swag. We're going to be looking at upgrading that soon. Additionally, you can subscribe to our Patreon account, our YouTube channel, Apple, anywhere where you get subscriptions to, you can have access to additional episodes and special events. Like on the 23rd, our patron and paid subscribers
April 23rd.
We'll have a earlier access to the show and Q&A and stuff live that the general public will not for a while, and then we'll open it up to everybody else. So it's definitely worth it. And lastly, when enjoying the beauty of nature, whether backpacking, camping, or simply taking a walk, always remember to leave no trace. Thanks, and we will see you all next time.